Hi Internet, welcome to the Greg Troyan YouTube channel, and welcome to Greg's 14 Adventures, a weekly vlog where I discuss my journey through Final Fantasy XIV as a first-time player. I beat A Realm Reborn back in 2022, and I'm finally finishing up the rest of the game. These vlogs are documenting my journey. If you like these videos and want to support their continued production, the best way to do that is to like the video, share it on a relevant social media site like Reddit, and leave a comment. Thanks, pal. Hello everyone and Happy New Year! This is the first vlog of 2026 and I feel like we're getting things started off right. For the past feels like 2 months, there's been a bunch of vlogs where it's been like, yeah, I didn't play much 14 this week and so I only played for like a couple hours and so I was progressing through the Heavensward patch content at a snail's pace. And I am very much a task-oriented person. I like accomplishing goals, I like, hitting milestones. And it just felt like I was in this malaise of just patch content that felt like it was taking forever. Even though I was enjoying lots of it and enjoying parts of it very much, I was kind of getting a little bit of senioritis because of how slow I was progressing through the content. And so this week I was like, man, I really want to knock out a bunch of stuff. I really want to move forward on my list and get to Stormblood. I am so ready for Stormblood. And so I actually got a ton of 14 playing in this week and accomplished quite a bit. My post-Heavensward to-do list is very light at this point. It's basically just finishing up the MSQ to the Far Edge of Fate, which is the quest right before Stormblood starts, and doing the Heavensward Red Maids quests. So this week I got a bunch of MSQ done, did some side quests, read the Tales from the Dragonsong War novella, and also dipped my toes into crafting for the first time in 14. So there's a lot to go over this week. So I began my 14 playthrough this week by going to check on level 1 because I had read online that level 1 was gone, and unfortunately level 1 has been in fact been removed. Apparently level 1 was removed on Christmas Day, which it's smart because that's going to be a day that a lot of people aren't playing and people might not notice. But man, that's cold. That is ice cold, removing level 1 on Christmas. Ugh. Awful. Very sad, but we will remember that level 1 once lived. That is really unfortunate about level 1. I loved that thing. I loved the color design of it and just, I don't know, the vibes. The vibes were just top notch with level 1. But anyway, back with the MSQ, we decided to ask Hraesvelgr for help with dealing with Estinien, see if there's any way we can separate him from Nidhogg and save him. And Hraesvelgr is like, I'll think about helping you if you can get through this trial. Basically, this is the video game excuse for we have to have a dungeon here. And so we have a dungeon, and I opt to do it with NPCs, which is sort of becoming my default, at least for my first run through of a dungeon where there's the option to play with NPCs. I feel I've gotten better with the one-hit kill mechanics, and I haven't really been dealing with them as much. And also, if I'm playing at early times in the morning, I'll have better luck with the NPCs than, hoping to find somebody in the duty finder. So I'm like, all right, I will try this with NPCs, and this feels to narratively make sense with the people I have with me. The highlight of that particular dungeon was fighting with Moglin. He's just really freaking hilarious. I just love that character. I love how he just is always insulting your name as being weird and goofy. I don't know. I'm a sucker for the Moogles, and I loved seeing Moglin again. It was just really great, and it was a fun fight. It wasn't very difficult, but it was really fun. After that dungeon, Hraesvelgr decides to team up with us and help us fight Nidhogg because he senses our convictions are true. He senses that oh man, you guys really want to save your comrade. You got a lot of heart. You know what? Yeah, let's do it. And so we go back to Ishgard for a battle on a big bridge. Not the big bridge, but a battle on a big bridge. Big, epic battle cutscene where Nidhogg's forces are attacking Ishgard, but then we arrive with reinforcement with the good dragons to fight off the bad dragons, all leading up to a final confrontation with Nidhogg. Now, originally, I was just hanging out in the duty finder hoping to find a party to fight Nidhogg, but I decided, you know what? Narratively, I think this would be kind of a cool one-on-one fight, since Leto, in terms of narrative, is also a Azure Dragoon, according to doing the Dragoon side quest that I did. So Leto is an Azure Dragoon, also given the power of Hraesvelgr to fight against Nidhogg to even the playing field. So really a 1v1 fight of Leto versus Nidhogg does feel like that would be narratively satisfying as opposed to, oh hey, we gathered a bunch of other adventurers to help you fight this dragon. I was feeling very shonen anime the way that Leto was staring down Nidhogg, waiting in the duty finder, ready to fight. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to try to solo it. I'm going to see if I can do this unsynced solo. It was a bit of a challenging fight. I think in the future I might want to stock up on ethers rather than high potions on my hotbar, because I was needing to do a lot of healing against the damage that Nidhogg was dealing. But ultimately, I was able to win the fight, and with the help of Alphino and the ghosts of Ysayle and Orshifant, we were able to free Estinien from Nidhogg's grasp. And I will admit, I got a little bit teary-eyed seeing Orshifant there. I was like, my bro, helping us from beyond. But yeah, this section was really, really great. The storytelling was excellent. I was starting to feel burned out on the Heavensward patch content and just feeling like everything was really dragging out, and I wasn't getting as much narrative satisfaction as I was during the main part of the expansion. But this whole set piece was really, really great. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was, powerful from a character standpoint. The emotions were high. The fight was great. And I think it works well as an unsynced fight. I don't think I lost too much from it doing it unsynced as opposed to with a party. If anything, for this particular fight, I think I got more out of it because I really had to, hold my own against whatever Nidhogg threw at me. But yeah, Aymeric instructing Leto and Alphino to throw Nidhogg's eyes into the abyss seems like a bad idea because the eyes aren't being destroyed by doing that. And if someone is able to somehow go into the abyss, they could theoretically get them. We have flying mounts. They could just keep going lower until they land on whatever ground is down there and find the eyes. That doesn't seem like the best idea. But you know what is the best idea? Liking this video and leaving a comment telling your buddy Greg your thoughts on this part of Final Fantasy XIV. I want to know your thoughts on my thoughts and get into a discussion about the Tales from the Dragonsong War and crafting and the Heavensward patch storytelling, and if you think it's stronger than I'm giving it credit for. Also, I don't really plug a Patreon on this channel. You can tip with the thanks button if you want, help me pay for groceries. But the best way to support is honestly just like the video, comment, share it. Share with a friend, share it on social media. I haven't heard anybody sharing it on Reddit yet, but if anybody is sharing these vlogs... Actually, no, wait, no, there was... someone shared the Orshifant episode on Reddit, so never mind. One episode has been shared on Reddit. But yeah, that's the best way to support these vlogs, is just like, comment, subscribe, share, and also you can join my Discord server if you want to talk about Final Fantasy XIV with me and a bunch of other really cool people. Just the main rule is don't be a jerk. And, keep it PG-13 in terms of, overly sexual content, just in case people are at work and their boss is over their shoulder. You don't want to get anybody fired. But other than that, yeah, come join the Discord server, hang out, and continue the discussion. And speaking of continuing the discussion, I'm going to continue to talk about the other things I did in 14 this week. So after the Nidhogg fight, I went and read through the Tales from the Dragonsong War short stories, the novella on the 14 website that contains a bunch of short stories about the Heavensward characters. Some of the narrative is being prequels to Heavensward. Some of the narrative sort of taking place after or during Heavensward. Not all of them, I think, are worthy of discussing. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the ones that were highlights for me. There was one that showcased the backstory between Francil and Orshifant, and I thought that was a really nice little backstory. Just, more Orshifant is always good, and explain why Francil is so loyal to him. I thought that was, I thought it was really good in that regard. The story itself wasn't too much to write home about, but just getting any extra Orshifant is always worth it. Sir Vaindrew had a really, really great short story, maybe the best of the bunch. He was basically a member of the Heavensward, an older knight who was actually a loyal follower of the church's teachings, but then when he saw that Thornton was consorting with Ascians and breaking all kinds of church rules and engaging in heresy, he was ready to, bring about justice, but ultimately got killed in a really cool fight. So a character who never actually appears in the game, but his backstory chapter was really good. I think that was the best one. Alice had a really good short story about her making friends with a merchant girl, and then that merchant girl dying, and just the life lesson she learned from the friendship that she made as she continues on her journey. And there was a very good short story where you got to read a letter Orshifant wrote about his friendship with the Warrior of Light, and just man, my bro, gone too soon. So yeah, overall the novella was fine. I don't really think anything was essential in there, and I guess I was wanting a little bit more meat from the novella, some really interesting tidbit of lore, or something that really changed the context of the story, and nothing really did. I guess the only thing I could say is, like, Sir Vaindrew is definitely a cool character that I wish I could have seen in 14, and Orshafan's letter did do some nice fleshing out of his personality, so that was nice. But even though I enjoyed these short stories overall, I don't think they're very essential. I think you can probably skip them and be fine. But anyway, back to actually playing the game and not just reading novellas about the game. So the gang goes to check on Estinien in the healing ward, and the knights who are at the security say, oh, just come back later. We're not ready for you to see him yet. And so then we go to House for Tom, and then during our meeting with everyone at House for Tom, we decide we need to go check on Estinien, which we were just doing. The back and forth nature of that felt very silly, very MMO questy. Like, why didn't we just go to House for Tom first, meet with them, and then go meet with Estinien? The back and forth just felt kind of dumb, if I'm being honest. But then, going back to check on Estinien, we got a warning about a really long cutscene, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't nearly as long as the A Realm Reborn really long cutscene, so I was fine with it. The warning was appreciated, but honestly, I feel like there have been other long cutscenes in Heavensward that were longer than this, that there was no warning about, so... But yeah, we had a really good heart-to-heart with Estinien about his parallels with Nidhogg, and the difference being that Estinien had friends that he could rely upon where Nidhogg didn't, and so Nidhogg became cold and bitter and distant and evil, whereas Estinien had people to lean on to open up his heart, which is a very common trope that I've seen in a lot of stories where, you know, they have the parallel characters, but the one person was fortunate enough to have friends or a good upbringing, and so they were the ones able to break out of the cycle and not turn into a villain. And I have a little bit of mixed feelings on that, because it's basically just whoever is lucky enough to have good circumstances or good people surrounding them is the one who gets to climb out of the darkness. You know, in a hypothetical scenario, if you're not lucky enough to meet someone who's kind and just only meet unkind people, you know, that means, oh, well, I guess you're just going to be a villain, you know, and I have a bit of mixed feelings on it because I think there is like a degree of personal choice in the matter. Like, there is the whole male loneliness epidemic going on right now, and, you know, there's a lot of, you know, extenuating circumstances that are leading to that, but it does ultimately lead to, like, you have to just make the choice not to be an asshole. And if you choose not to be an asshole, you'll start to surround yourself with good people. You know, you see so many guys online like, oh, I can't find a girlfriend. Oh, I'll be lonely forever. And like, have you tried just like, I don't know, being nice to women, being respectful? Stop watching Andrew Tate and just be chill. Just be nice. Bring a girl flowers. You know, maybe don't tell her that you don't think she should have the right to vote. You know, maybe if you don't try to take away women's rights and are chill, maybe you'll find a girlfriend. It's just choosing not to be an asshole is a way to make friends. And so, you know, when the lesson that they're trying to say, or not necessarily even a lesson, but like, oh, you know, the reason that I'm different than Nidhogg is because I had friends and he didn't. You know, I feel a bit weird about where I come to land on that in terms of like, you know, how much of it is luck that you happen to find people who are willing to be kind to you. Because, you know, there is that luck angle to it. And, you know, what does that say about the personal responsibility angle? You know, I think there is a degree of personal responsibility in just like choosing not to be a dick. You know, how you respond to circumstances, how you deal with adversity is the true test of your character. You know, there is that debate of nature versus nurture. I do think it's a combination of the two. But I guess when you look at Estinien's arc, he was willing to be as brutal as Nidhogg, and basically actually was set on pretty much the same path. And it's only because he was basically forced into hanging out with Leito and Alphinaud and Ysayle that he started to soften up. So maybe if Nidhogg was forced to hang out with nice people, maybe he would soften up. So, you know, as I'm talking through my thoughts, I'm landing on it pretty positively. I still think it's a good thing, but I would just say my message to the kids out there is just don't be an asshole. These vlogs are unscripted, so it's basically just me talking my thoughts out loud and developing them as I discuss them with you, you know, in a very casual, conversational kind of way. So, you know, even though I have notes on what I want to talk about, they are developing as I talk. And so, in the end, I do think that is a very worthy parallel to discuss. And I think it is an important message of how people are very similar and their circumstances can sometimes, unfortunately, dictate their fate. And just, you know, what patch of dirt you're born on and what opportunities you're given ultimately will lead you down a path. And so there's a level of sympathy and empathy that must be given. You know, for someone who was born in poverty, and if they had been given the same circumstances and opportunities, they might have had a much brighter future. So yeah, I thought those parallels were done really well. Honestly, this entire section right here was really, really great. I thought the storytelling was excellent. It was something I was really desperately wanting from 14. I really felt like the storytelling took a pretty significant drop after the end of Heavensward, where the Heavensward patch content it wasn't bad, but it really felt dragged out and just wasn't doing it much for me. And I think because maybe it's the way that I structured all the content that I was doing, but it just felt like such a plethora of patch content, and a lot of it wasn't as engaging as the A Realm Reborn patch content. And I was starting to really feel burned out on the Heavensward patch content, but the strength of the storytelling with Estinien and freeing him, it was finally getting back to like where I wanted 14 to be. And it did resolve in a very strong place. But yeah, overall, I really liked where things ended with Estinien's storyline. Although I will say, I do think it would have been stronger if all of this happened before the final battle with Thordan and his knights. I think that was a more epic conclusion, and I think they were a better final antagonist of the storyline than Nidhogg. I think having Nidhogg be the pre-final boss and then having Thordan and his knights be the ultimate final boss, I think that would have been narratively more satisfying, and then you wouldn't have had the thing where Estinien shows up right after you defeat Thordan, and then like, nope, you still got to deal with Nidhogg, even though you already killed Nidhogg. It just felt, that part didn't work for me, but this conclusion was satisfying. So I think I would have told it in a different order. I think the Thordan Knights of the Round final boss was a more satisfying final set piece, but this was still narratively satisfying. But yeah, after that, Aymeric is chosen to be head of state of Ishgard. He was temporary head of state for a long time, but then they make him the formal head of state after they announce that their new government will be a republic with a House of Lords and House of Commons, which is basically the governmental system that England has, which I will admit I'm not as familiar with the specifics on how everything works. I know the House of Lords is the high house and the House of Commons is the lower house. And it does feel very weird that there's this aristocratic edge to British politics still in such an open and flagrant way. But I don't know the exact mechanics on how the House of Lords works with the House of Commons. So I would really need to do more research before I make any grand commentary on it as an American. I mean, we have our own issues with our higher house, the Senate, being a disproportional representation of the population based upon population size. But it does feel weird if the House of Lords is based on any like birthright thing. That does seem a bit odd. But I think isn't Andrew Lloyd Webber a member of the House of Lords, or is it just like a money thing? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But I did really suspect that Aymeric was still going to be the head of state, just because what other character would do it in terms of the functioning of this is Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO, and you'll need someone for side quests and stuff, and someone to hang out with Raubahn and Merlib and the Elder Seedseer, Kane-sama. Who is going to be the representative of Ishgard, who's going to appear in cutscenes with them? It has to be Aymeric, so he's got the best character design. He's the one we've known the longest. Of course he's going to be the head of state. And so them formalizing it, he's no longer temporary head of state, he's actual head of state now. It's okay, whatever, patch quest, that's fine. But yeah, that pretty much ties up all the loose ends of Heavensward and really solidifies an end to that storyline. Aside from the Warriors of Darkness, that's the one loose end that hasn't been tied up from this Heavensward storyline. And speaking of the Warriors of Darkness, we see one of them, and it looks like they're looking to get Nidhogg's eyes that we threw into the Abyss, which was a bad idea, just throwing it into the Abyss, that just in case someone like the Warriors of Darkness wants to get them. But yeah, since I had gotten a good chunk of MSQ done and eliminated the Tales from the Dragonsong War from my giant to-do list in 14, I had another thing on my giant to-do list that I knew I could do at this point. I'm you know what? Let's knock that off the to-do list too. Let's keep clearing stuff off this checklist. There was a Moogle side quest that required you to be a level 50 Disciple of the Hand, and I had not done any crafting jobs whatsoever in 14. And so I was not able to do the quest. My plan was, on the checklist once I got to this point, was to just grind out to level 50 in one of the crafting jobs just so I could do that quest. And I thought it would take an entire week's worth of playing, and that would be an entire separate vlog, but I knocked it all out in a day and a half. I'm just like, nope, screw it. We're getting to level 50. And so I started the Goldsmith questline because I heard that was the one with the best storyline of the crafting jobs. And the storyline itself was okay, but if this is sort of like the peak of crafting job storylines, I'm not in a rush to do any other crafting jobs. Not just for story reasons, but also for like mechanical reasons. I'm just not super interested in them. But yeah, as I was starting the Goldsmith questline, I didn't have enough space in my armory chest, so I had to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And man, inventory management in MMOs is really annoying, but it seems especially annoying in 14 because there doesn't seem to be a way to get a larger inventory or a bigger armory chest. Like, inventory management in 11 was annoying too, but at least there were the Gobby Bag quests to expand your inventory out. There doesn't seem to be a way to do that in 14, aside from just like, you give stuff to your retainer, but that's the same as like going to your Mog house in 11. So honestly, I'm pretty annoyed by 14's inventory system. But anyway, after clearing out some inventory, I did my first bit of crafting and decided to unlock the Firmament. And I also unlocked the Empyreum because I want to see the Ishgard housing districts. And I went to this candy house with really weird music, which I assume I will hear at some point in the playthrough. But I will go ahead and play a little bit of it for you now so you can tell me what song it is and at what point in the game I'll be experiencing what expansion. Lot.
Up and down again, round and round the bend, fa la 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 la. From a flowery bed to the clouds ascend, tumble down again, fa la 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 la. Yet with each descent, do we rise again into our heart's content, fa la 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 la. Fly away, my friend, for a day, and then we'll begin again, fa la 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 la.
Unlock the Firmament after suggest from the comments section that I should unlock the Diadem because that would be helpful with crafting. And so you unlock the Diadem after unlocking the Firmament. And so I did that quest, and it was really nice to see Francel in the quest, especially after reading his short story and seeing Briardean again. Actually didn't think I'd see him at all in 14 after doing the Scholasticite quests. I thought, okay, he was in Hildibrand 2.0 and he was in the Scholasticite quests. I like Briardean a lot, but I'll probably never see him again. But it was really great to just, have him show up unexpectedly. That was great. But yeah, the reason I unlocked the Empyreum and the Firmament was because, the quests were very close to each other, weren't too time intensive, and I heard that Diadem was a great place to get crafting materials. But before going to the Diadem, I said, I'm going to just check out the Firmament for a bit, explore, because I just love the music, I love the vibes. It was just a really cool place. The soundtrack here was just phenomenal. I just loved it. But I saw that in order to unlock the Diadem, I needed to get a Disciple of the Land up to level 10 in order to go there. And I just didn't feel like doing that. I just went back to crafting. Basically, what I was doing for these crafting quests was just buying whatever materials I needed because I didn't want to also level up a, mining job or whatever kind of gatherer job I need for materials. Like, nope, I'm just going to buy stuff from the person at the guild, and if they don't have it, I'm just going to go to the market board. I just do not want to deal with all this. I want to get to level 50 as fast as possible so I can do this Moogle quest. I don't want to level up another crafting job. I just want to level up one and just get through this. I'm not a big crafting guy in games. It's never really been my thing. I do like how there was one 11 storyline that forced you to use the crafting mechanics just so I could engage with it. But in general, I don't seek out doing crafting in games. Just not really my thing. And so I was hoping the Diadem would help me level up my crafting faster. But again, I didn't want to level up a different job. So I'm like, nope, I'm just going to go back to the guild and craft there. And I spent a ton of gil buying the items I needed for the quest. I ended up spending 800,000 gil to get to level 50 as fast as I did. Part of it was buying materials to just craft items and level up my crafting skills. And part of it was actually buying the items needed for the quest line, because I'm like, I don't feel like buying all these materials separately. And if I buy them all on the market board separately, it's going to cost me way more than if I just buy the thing outright. So a lot of the items in the quest line is like, oh, you did such a good job crafting this. Like, I just bought it from the market board because I was just trying to plow through it. Like, mechanically, the main things I appreciated about the Goldsmith questline was, one, I finally learned how to mend a materia to an item, which was cool because that was something I've been wondering about for a while and just never got around to doing. So it was nice to finally learn materia mending. And two, it was nice that I could do the auto crafting thing and just buy a whole bunch of materials and auto craft. And so I could just do that in the background while working to level up my crafting. Just buy the materials, set it to auto craft, and just work for a bit while my character's leveling up his crafting. So I appreciated those aspects mechanically, but otherwise, yeah, the crafting, not so much for me. As far as the Goldsmith questline, I did figure that Robert was the Jade Fox pretty early on in the questline. That just seemed pretty obvious. Gigi was really, really funny. The questline was okay. It didn't blow me away. And again, if it's the best crafting questline, if that's the case, I don't feel like I'm missing out on much with the other questlines. I still enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it, but I'm not in a rush to do other crafting jobs. I did like that Gigi's original name was Menjing, which was a Final Fantasy XI reference to Treasures of Ottergon and the puppets that Aphmau had. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I had spent so much gil where I felt uncomfortable with how low my gil was after all that. So I decided, okay, I need to do some duties to get some gil, because, I started off with over 1 million gil, and then after doing all of those crafting quests, I was down to 190,000 or something. I spent so much gil. And so I hopped onto Exodus to do some duties because they tend to be better with finding parties on there. Sold some gear for Serpent Seals, got a promotion, and then was just basically going through all of my, duty roulettes trying to get some money. While I was waiting in Gridania to do duties, there was a player named Vendaris Grovewalker who was doing a pretty decent concert, playing a bunch of different songs of different varieties. And it was nice to be able to just enjoy their playing while I was, waiting to do duties. I did figure out finally to turn off background music and just leave on sound effects so I could hear their bard playing without the Gridania background music clashing against it. I really should start doing that when I'm at bard concerts so I can actually appreciate them and not have the music clash. And it was a good time. It helped the time go by faster. I was waiting for the duties, and they did a very good job. I wonder if there's a way to import MIDI files into 14 and then just have your bard play whatever the MIDI file is playing, because the playing was really, really good, and I wonder if he was playing everything live or if he had somehow figured out a way to import MIDIs, because that would be my thing as a lazy musician. It's like, can I just import MIDI files? Is there a way to do that? But after doing all those duties, I finally did the Tricks and Stones side quest, where you have to craft a fake Kupo nut. And you can't buy or trade this Kupo nut. You have to craft it yourself. And it again reminds me of that quest in Final Fantasy XI, the Shantoto quest, where you can't buy or trade the items you need to craft. Remind me of that a lot. But after finishing the quest, I unlocked the daily Moogle quests, which then I found out all those quests are crafting quests. And I was like, you know what? I would do anything for Moogles, but I won't do that. I need a break. I did so much crafting all at once that I just became so burnt out on crafting. I'm glad I did it to experiment with the system, but crafting is just not really my thing. I'm not a big sandbox game person. I'm more of a linear narrative person when it comes to at least RPGs. And so I'm loving the MMOs, and I fell in love with Final Fantasy XI, fell in love with Final Fantasy XIV, but it's more for the storytelling aspects than the you can do anything and, craft gear and do all these other random little activities. That's just not the kind of games I generally play. And also, I think, again, because I'm so task-oriented, I'm just so wanting to get to the end of Dawn Trail. That is my North Star, getting to Echoes of Vana'diel and all of the other, Dawn Trail patch content, and then playing the new expansion after Dawn Trail. That is where my mind is at, as opposed to these, grindy, busy work tasks that, don't get me wrong, I'm sure I would really enjoy the Moogle questline here, and I'll probably end up doing it at some point, but man, I just need a break from the grind of crafting. I probably should have gotten to level 50 in a single day with the craft, and that was probably a bit overkill. But it feels so good to just get that, item off my checklist. It feels so good to have finally done that Moogle quest that was been lingering over me for so long. I ended up chatting with some of my friends in my Discord about it afterwards, and they're like, hey, if you like Moogles, the Dark Knight questline and the White Mage questline and the Pictomancer questline, they all have Moogles in them. And I was like, man, I just did all this grinding with Goldsmith. I don't want to grind out a new job, especially I had to learn how to play tank and learn how to play healer. And then I was told by Radle Girl that hey, that stuff on your to-do list? You have to do other jobs to do everything on your list, right? And I was like, no more grinding. I just want to do Red Mage. I like playing Red Mage. I don't want to learn a new job. I just want to rock Red Mage. The way I did in 11, where I just rocked Red Mage the entire way through. I just want to rock Red Mage the entire way through. I don't want to learn how to, play tank and healer to unlock these side quests. But I think it's just my mental state after, again, doing so much grinding all at once. It was probably too much. But, oh man, my checklist for what's left with the Heavensward patch content looks so good right now. It's just MSQ and Red Mage quest, baby. That is it. And then it's Stormblood, finally. But yeah, I got some good razzing on my Discord from my friends on there. You gotta do all this, you gotta do all this. And I love and appreciate the people who are hanging out in there with me. My friends on there, they're just all around awesome, lovely people. And chatting with them about 14 is one of the highlights of my week. It's really great. And then Tuesday night, Summoner Jobin and I did our weekly play date together. We didn't get to play last week because of the holidays, so we hopped in Exodus to do the Starlight Celebration quest together since we missed doing that together Christmas week. The reason we decided to play in Exodus was because we needed to do the final fight of the Hildibrand questline, and so we decided to hop in the Duty Finder while starting the Starlight Celebration quest in hopes of knocking that out as well. and we found a party very quickly in our playthrough, which I'm excited about because I wanted to wear my Santa outfit for the Starlight Celebration quest, and we were able to do that final fight with Gilgamesh right away. You know, hopped into Exodus, both of us were in the Duty Finder, and then boom, we pretty much did the fight right away. It was a good time, and then we finished the Starlight quest together, and then finally finished the Hildibrand questline. Summoner Jobin was commenting that he thinks the Hildibrand, a Realm Reborn questline is the best part of 14 he's played so far. And it might be the best part of 14 I've played so far. I have to think about it, but like that still might be peak. Next up, Job and I are doing some optional dungeons before we hop into the Primal quests and remember the past quest. And so that gives Summoner Jobin a couple weeks to finish up his homework on 1.0. Because I did tell him he needs to do some 1.0 homework to really appreciate the Bahamut questline. And I gave him both a video of all the 1.0 cutscenes and just a summary video. And I said, hey, you don't have to watch like all 7 hours of cutscenes. You can just watch the summary video if you want. But, you know, I'm leaving the choice up to him, but I said, you'll probably get more out of this if you at least watch this 1.0 summary video. I really wish there was a playable version of 1.0. I would love to be able to just play through the storyline on a private server. That'd be a private server I could get down with if I could just play the original version of 14, just so I could, again, experience the game for the story. But yeah, that is the video. If you want to join my Discord and chat about Final Fantasy XIV with me, the link will be in the description. But also, make sure you do the liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. It helps the channel a lot. It helps me continue to make these videos. But that is all for this week. I hope you all had a great holiday, and I hope all of you have a great new year. I'll see you in the comments. Bye, everyone.